Anyone who tries to break what the universe has chosen will end up breaking themselves. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen one, while you're moving through life quietly, healing, rebuilding, and minding your mission. There is someone you don't see who is constantly watching over you. A force more loyal than blood, more alert than an army, and more ruthless than any threat that dares to touch you. They're not doing it for praise. They're doing it because your life is the key to something far greater, and they've been assigned to make sure no one messes with that. Here's the truth most people can't handle. Your silence isn't weakness, it's backed by someone who's ready to break bones behind the scenes. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing like and subscribe. Drop a comment if you've ever felt protected by a force you couldn't explain, but knew was real. You are part of a force silent but unstoppable that keeps the balance intact. Together, we're stronger. And this mission is far from over. They thought you were easy to target because you kept your head down, because you didn't fight every battle out loud. They thought your gentleness was a lack of power, that your stillness meant no one had your back. But behind you stands a presence not everyone can see, and that's the point. Because if your enemies could see it, they wouldn't even try. This guardian is not human logic. This isn't someone who needs convincing. They were assigned before you took your first breath. They were activated the moment your calling was confirmed in the courts of heaven. And ever since, they've been watching, studying, waiting, preparing to strike if needed. They know every voice that has lied on your name. They've tracked every hand that tried to tamper with your timeline. And when things got too close, when it looked like you were surrounded, this guardian moved so fast, the atmosphere around your enemies shifted. That sick feeling in their gut, that was your protection sending out its first warning. This is not paranoia, it's precision, and it's built into the architecture of your path. You are not walking alone. You are not surviving on luck. You are being guarded. They don't sleep, they don't clock out, and they don't tolerate interference. Think back, how many times did something almost go wrong? A relationship that was about to wreck you suddenly ends. A friend reveals themselves just in time. A job opportunity falls through, only for something better to arrive. That wasn't coincidence. That was intervention. Your guardian doesn't wait until it's too late. They move at the first whisper of danger. They block the energy before it forms into action. They strike fear into people's bones before their betrayal ever reaches your ears. And the best part, most of your enemies still don't know what hit them. All they know is that their plans collapsed. Their peace disappeared, and your name still rises. They're confused. They're shaken. But you're covered. You've got a force behind you that doesn't need a spotlight to be effective. Their silence is strategy. Their devotion is eternal. And their hands are ready, not to protect your ego, but to protect your purpose. Before you ever cried your first tear, before your name was whispered by human lips, before betrayal had the chance to sting your spirit, someone made a vow to protect you with everything they had. This wasn't a promise made in flesh. This was a soul contract, a spiritual oath forged in realms where time doesn't exist and truth burns through illusion like fire. Before you took form in the womb, before your heartbeat synced with the rhythm of earth, the universe marked your life as a sacred blueprint, untouchable, rare, essential. And with that blueprint came a built-in defender. Chosen one, you weren't just assigned a mission, you were assigned a guardian, not a helper, not a fan, a force, a storm with a name no enemy will ever speak without consequence. This guardian was born with your purpose tattooed on their spirit. They didn't get to choose this role. It was chosen for them. Their spiritual DNA carries your coordinates. Their fire is fueled by your calling. Every time your light gets attacked, their instinct kicks in like thunder through the veil. They're not your security system. They're your spiritual enforcer, and they don't wait for you to call. They're already present, always alert, always scanning the field for hidden daggers and subtle shifts in energy. Their presence is felt in the moments you can't explain, when your gut screams, "Don't go there." When a door slams shut that you swore you wanted open. When someone suddenly exits your life without a final word and peace follows. That's your guardian, working overtime. See, most people think loyalty is earned, but in your case, it was predestined. This guardian doesn't care about clout. They're not worried about public image. They don't check your feed to see how well you're doing. They check your spirit, and if something feels off, they get to work. They've stood beside you while you were unconscious of your own power. They've watched you cry over people they knew were never meant to stay. And still, they remained silent, steady, sworn to the task. Because to them, failure is not an option. They fought wars in dimensions you've never seen, some that would have left your mind shattered had you known what was coming for you. And yet, here you are, still walking, still chosen, still covered by a force that doesn't sleep and doesn't stop. And don't get it twisted, this isn't sentimental. This is tactical. This isn't about feelings. This is about function. Your light is a threat to darkness. And darkness has tried time and time again to eliminate you before your full rise. But your guardian took the hits, blocked the arrows, disarmed the traps, broke the curses, and erased your enemies before their plans even reached your door. That's not loyalty. That's cosmic legislation. They were told, guard this one, no matter what, and they said yes without blinking. And every time someone crosses you, they don't just face consequences. They face a force that's been waiting for that moment. You might think you're unprotected because you feel alone. But let me remind you, even when you're isolated, you're insulated. Even when they disappear, someone stays. And even when you sleep, someone remains awake, hands curled in readiness, spirit vibrating with holy wrath. Because protecting you is not a reaction, it's a divine appointment. And if anyone touches what's sacred, they're not just crossing a line, they're triggering a promise, one that cannot be revoked. There are two kinds of protection: reaction and presence. And yours, it's not waiting for an attack to defend you. It announces itself before the enemy even thinks about moving. Chosen one, your guardian doesn't just respond to trouble. They broadcast a frequency that lets the world know, don't even try it. You don't hear it, but the spirit realm does. Every jealous eye, every fake friend, every wandering opportunist who thought they could slide into your space unnoticed, they feel it. That pressure, that uneasiness, that invisible hand resting on their shoulder, squeezing tight enough to say, back away now, or get broken. This is divine perimeter control, a boundary so spiritually electrified, it shocks anything not in alignment. Before the lie leaves their mouth, before the spell gets cast, before the betrayal is drafted in their mind, something already whispers in their spirit, don't mess with this one. And the foolish ones who ignore that warning, they learn the hard way. This is why people look at you and get nervous before you even speak. It's not your volume, it's not your posture, it's the presence of something behind you, staring back at them through your silence. They thought your stillness was vulnerability. They had no idea it was your guardian standing there, silent but armed, a storm held in restraint, a reckoning waiting for permission. You've walked into rooms that shifted the energy on entry, not because of ego, but because of what walks with you. Let them think they're slick. Let them study your habits, track your posts, try to piece together your weaknesses. Your guardian already spotted them 3 moves ago and tagged their spirit for evaluation. And once that tag is placed, every fake compliment they send tastes like ash in their own mouth. Every attempt to sabotage you backfires before it launches. Every time they try to subtly disrespect you, the consequences come louder than their intention. That's what happens when protection becomes proactive. That's what happens when your guardian doesn't just protect you, get pre-cleared airspace. Let me break it down. Some people wonder why they keep getting punished for just being petty, why their energy tanks after crossing you, why their plans keep falling apart, even when it looked like they had you cornered. Because your guardian doesn't negotiate with petty. They don't play games with shadow work. They enforce law, not emotional reactions law. Spiritual trespassing is a crime in the spirit realm, and your life is marked territory. Your guardian walks with a message written in invisible ink across your aura. This soul is sealed. This mission is sanctioned, and this purpose is not up for debate. So while they're giggling behind your back, while they're casually using your name in low-level gossip, while they're plotting with dusty intentions, something else is happening. Their sleep gets disrupted, their plans get disorganized, their peace begins to leak. That's not coincidence. That's an alert, a spiritual siren sent from your defender. A way of saying you were warned, and let this sink in. Your guardian doesn't do warnings twice. They say it once, in the language of energy. And if it's ignored, the next sound is impact. Not loud, not public, but surgical, precise, unforgiving. That's what you carry as chosen one. A protector who doesn't need words, because their aura speaks fluently in consequence. You remember that moment, the one when everything went dark, when you couldn't see the next step, when the weight got too heavy, when silence wrapped around you like a fog. They thought that would be the end of you. But what they didn't realize is that darkness doesn't silence a chosen one. It activates the force that walks with you. Chosen one. When darkness whispered, your guardian roared, not with noise, not with spectacle, but with power, the kind that can't be filmed, the kind that doesn't need to be posted, the kind that rearranges the atmosphere behind the scenes while the world assumes you've gone quiet. You didn't go quiet. You got reinforced. When your tears hit the pillow and your heart screamed without words, your guardian heard every cry. They were already standing over you, not pitying you but readying war. You didn't see the battles they fought on your behalf, because you were too buried in grief. But they were there, blocking attacks, reversing energy, confusing the enemy's tactics, standing in the gap when you didn't even have strength to pray. You were curled in the dark, but someone else was moving in the shadows, silent, focused, ruthless with anything that tried to take you out before your next rise. Let that sink in. You thought you were losing, but the entire time, your guardian was winning battles you didn't even know you were in. Every person who spoke curses behind your name, every soul who smiled in your face while planting sabotage, every spiritual parasite that tried to latch onto your light, they all got visited, not by karma, not by chance, but by order. The order to protect you doesn't expire. It doesn't pause for heartbreak. It doesn't stall when you feel broken. It amplifies. Your pain becomes fuel. Your stillness becomes signal. And your guardian moves faster in the dark than you ever imagined in the light. Let's be clear, this isn't just someone who loves you. This isn't a friend who checks in when times are hard. This is a cosmic assignment, someone whose whole existence is tied to your mission. If you fall, something eternal in them cracks, so they don't let you fall. They refuse to. That's why you made it through. It wasn't just your strength. It wasn't luck. It wasn't the therapy session or the quote you read on Instagram. It was the force behind you that stood over your sleeping body at 3 a.m. when spiritual warfare was at its peak and said, "Not this one. Not on my watch." You felt that subtle shift, didn't you? One day you woke up, and the heaviness had lifted. The fear wasn't as sharp. The noise wasn't as loud. And suddenly you could breathe. That wasn't coincidence. That was your guardian clearing the room, sweeping the field, and disarming every spiritual weapon formed against you. They didn't need to be seen, because results speak louder than rescue missions. And that's exactly what they gave you: results. Your spirit is still intact. Your calling is still active. And your enemies, confused, shaken, wondering why their efforts didn't work. It's because you weren't unprotected. You were being shielded. And when darkness whispered your name, your guardian answered with a roar that the enemy will never forget. Here's something your enemies never expected, that by coming for you, they weren't writing your ending. They were signing their own collapse. Every person who ever tried to sabotage you, every jealous spirit that threw shade, cast spells, or launched curses toward your name, they didn't realize that you're not just a person, you're a divine investment. And what's backed by heaven comes with consequences. See, chosen one, you were born sealed, spiritually encrypted, marked by the divine before you had language to defend yourself. And because of that, anyone who touches you without clean intention triggers a judgment they can't undo. You didn't have to clap back. You didn't have to post receipts. You didn't have to prove your innocence or fight for your name, because the very act of coming against you became a spiritual lawsuit, and your guardian doesn't lose cases. Some people found that out the hard way. They watched their plans unravel, watched their allies turn on them, watched their favor dry up like a riverbed in drought, and they didn't understand why. It was because they touched what was sacred. And when you touch what's sacred, you don't just get exposed, you get dismantled. Your guardian doesn't come to embarrass. They come to enforce justice. That's why some people can't even look you in the eye anymore. Not because you said anything, but because their spirit remembers what happened when they moved against you. Let me ask you something. Have you noticed how certain people just disappear? How they went from bold to broken overnight? How they once bragged about being close to you, only to now walk around pretending they never knew you? That's not guilt. That's fallout. Because they crossed into energy they weren't built to handle. And when your guardian stepped in, they didn't just push back. They collapsed systems. Some of your enemies didn't just lose favor. They lost access. They lost peace. They lost entire timelines that were meant to prosper, because they tried to tamper with yours. That's how serious your protection is. It doesn't just cancel the assignment, it cancels the attacker's trajectory. And no, this isn't revenge. This is the law of spiritual boundaries, and your life is a protected zone. People wonder why certain doors don't open for them anymore, why opportunities keep slipping through their fingers, why anxiety and confusion stalk their every move. It's because they violated a spiritual boundary they didn't understand. They stepped onto holy ground thinking it was just another game, and the guardian assigned to you let them know, in no uncertain terms, that there are consequences for playing with divine alignment. They touched your name like it was casual. They handled your heart like it was replaceable. They mocked your silence like it was weakness. And now their own structures are falling apart quietly, bit by bit, piece by piece, with no clear reason, except that the universe remembers. Your guardian doesn't need to announce what they're doing. They don't issue warnings twice. They just move. And when they move, your enemies feel it in their sleep, in their finances, in their relationships, in their spirit. They won't tell anyone what happened, but you'll see it, you'll feel it. Because Chosen One, you didn't even have to strike back. You just had to stay in alignment and let heaven handle its business. Every enemy that touched you thought they were attacking flesh, but what they hit was fire. You thought you were blindsided. You thought the attack came out of nowhere. But what you didn't know is that it never reached you at full force. Because your guardian moved first, before the conversation turned sideways, before the text message got twisted, before that fake friend had a chance to sink their teeth into your spirit, your protector was already disarming the setup. Chosen One, there are threats you'll never know about, not because they weren't real, but because someone intercepted them before they landed. That gut feeling, that moment of hesitation that made no sense, that random delay that saved your day, that job that didn't call you back, only for the company to collapse a month later. That was divine interception. Your guardian doesn't wait for storms to hit. They read the clouds. They smell sabotage before it forms into strategy. And once they sense it, they don't ask questions. They act. This isn't paranoia. This is precision protection. This is the kind of covering that doesn't need applause because it's working overtime when you're asleep, distracted, discouraged, or just trying to survive. They move in frequencies beyond the human ear. They catch spiritual static that never registers on your radar. They see the shadow in the handshake. They decode the lie in the compliment. They track the threat in the opportunity dressed like a blessing. Let's be real. There were moments you were too tired to pray, too confused to discern, too trusting to recognize what was wrong. But grace showed up anyway in the form of protection that anticipated danger. They didn't need your permission to protect you. They just needed the assignment. And once that assignment was activated, every spirit that tried to play with your name got met with a force they didn't expect. Not loud, not dramatic, but deadly accurate. You'll never know how many arrows were turned midair. How many meetings were exposed before you even knew you were the topic? How many people planned your downfall and ended up falling into their own traps? Because your guardian doesn't document their miracles. They delete the threat and let the silence be your sign. Have you ever wondered why you suddenly didn't feel right about someone you thought you could trust? Why you pulled back from a conversation and later found out they were speaking against you? Why a relationship crumbled without explanation only for you to feel peace you didn't expect? That's not confusion. That's intervention and your enemies. They thought they caught you off guard, but what they didn't realize is your spirit never sleeps alone. Your guardian had already surveyed their intentions, already checked the energy around their actions, already prepared a counterstrike before you even felt the hit. This is why some people don't like you, and they can't explain why. Because the force that surrounds you makes their dysfunction tremble. Their shadows get exposed just by standing near your light. You walk with unseen reinforcement, not because you're weak, but because your destiny is too expensive to leave unguarded. And every time a new threat emerges, your guardian doesn't panic. They posture, they position, they prepare the takedown before you even realize you were in danger. This isn't luck. This isn't chance. This is warfare you never had to fight, because someone already fought it for you. You ever notice how certain people suddenly go quiet after crossing you? How they once had all the smoke, all the confidence, and then one day silence. That's not just guilt. That's not just embarrassment. That's spiritual aftermath. Because Chosen One, even hell knows not to play with you. You weren't built like the rest. You weren't sent here to be liked. You were sent here on assignment. And when heaven stamps a soul with sacred purpose, hell takes notes. Not because it has power over you, but because it fears what's behind you. Demons don't fear your face. They fear the force that walks with you. They fear your guardian, the one who doesn't ask questions before responding, the one who doesn't tolerate spiritual trespassing, the one whose presence is a sentence. You didn't earn this covering through performance. You came with it, wired into your mission, embedded in your energy. The covenant was made before your birth and sealed by divine law. And now even forces that don't speak your language know this one is untouchable. You've never seen it, but there are entire dark rooms, ritual circles, gossip gatherings, spiritual war councils where your name has been spoken with envy, disdain, or attack in mind. And you know what happens next. The room gets heavy, the air shifts, and suddenly, nobody wants to go through with the plan. Because the moment your name gets uttered with the wrong intention, a warning goes out. Not one from you, but from what surrounds you, from what defends you. There are demons who don't even want to accidentally cross your energy field. Because when they did before, it didn't end well. See, you've already been tested. In secret, in silence, behind your back. And every time, the verdict was swift: touch not this one, or pay the price. That's why some people won't come near you. Not because they respect you, but because their spirits remember what happened last time. You didn't see the attack. You didn't feel the full force, because it never reached you. It was swallowed by the hands of your guardian, a protector with zero tolerance for interference. They don't just defend you on earth. They walk into hell's boardrooms and flip tables, and your enemies don't even realize what they've triggered. They think they're dealing with just you. But when they move against you, their lives start unraveling, slowly and without warning. Relationships crumble, finances drain, mental confusion increases. Why? Because they activated a force they didn't believe existed. They tried you and hit a firewall made of flame. And still, you walk in peace, not because you're unaware, but because you know who's standing behind you. Chosen one, you don't just carry favor, you carry backed authority. You carry the kind of presence that doesn't need to speak to command fear. Your silence says enough. Your walk says enough. Your stillness says, try it and find out. You don't have to defend yourself with drama, because drama never wins when divine retribution is already in motion. Let them speculate. Let them wonder why things fell apart after they crossed you. Let them sit in the discomfort of watching you thrive while they sink, because they thought they were coming against flesh. They didn't know they were stepping into a cosmic minefield. And now even hell tiptoes when your name is mentioned. Let's clear this up once and for all. What protects you is not just loyal, it is legally bound in the spirit realm. This is not about someone liking you. This is not about emotional attachment. This is not loyalty. This is law, spiritual law, cosmic law. A covenant etched before time had names for things, an order written in divine ink that says, this one must complete the mission and nothing may stop them. That's why your guardian doesn't hesitate. That's why they don't need to consult you before they move. They've been commissioned, not convinced, assigned, not swayed. They don't need to be in love with your journey to protect it. They were wired for it. It's in their blueprint. Their soul was configured to respond to threats around you before you even know they exist. And here's the part most people will never understand. The guardian doesn't do it for you. They do it because violating your destiny would mean violating divine order. And that's not allowed. See, humans honor loyalty until it gets inconvenient. But the spirit realm doesn't work that way. Your protection isn't bound by mood. It doesn't have off days. It doesn't say I'm tired, I'm over it, or I'm done. Because it's not a preference, it's a principle. And principles can't be broken without consequence. That's why no matter how far you fall, no matter how much you doubt yourself, no matter how unworthy you feel on the worst days, your guardian still shows up. Still watches, still moves, because their role isn't dictated by your feelings. It's dictated by eternal alignment. Chosen one. When heaven assigns protection, hell can't veto it. There's no debate. There's no loophole. There's no exception clause that lets your enemies slide through unnoticed. Every time someone steps toward you with dark intention, they break unseen law. And breaking that law comes with penalties. Your guardian is the enforcer of that law. They are not emotionally attached to revenge. They are spiritually obligated to respond. They don't do it because they're petty. They do it because the mission is sacred. They do it because if anything interferes with your path, it interferes with the very balance of the greater plan. And heaven doesn't play when it comes to balance. You've been feeling the shift lately, haven't you? People getting exposed without you lifting a finger. Plots crumbling before they finish forming. Judgment falling without your name ever needing to be mentioned. That's what it looks like when the law is enforced. You don't need to scream, cry, or beg for protection. You already have it. Stamped, signed, activated. It's been working behind your silence, under your heartbreak, beneath your confusion. It's always been there because it has to be. The truth is, your enemies haven't been getting away with it. They've been stacking infractions, and one by one, they're getting cashed in, not by your doing, but by the cosmic response system that governs your life. This is divine security, not optional, not emotional, just law. So when they ask, why are things falling apart after I cross them? You don't even have to respond. Let the silence answer. Let the aftermath explain. Let the universe deliver the message loud and clear. You weren't defended because you begged for it. You were defended because interfering with your destiny is illegal. You keep wondering why they never left, why they stayed through your silence, why they showed up when no one else even checked in. Let me make it plain. It's because you are the mission, not one of their goals, not a temporary assignment, not a seasonal favor. You are the reason they move at all. Your guardian doesn't multitask loyalty. They're not dividing their energy between you and a dozen other causes. Their eyes don't wander. Their loyalty doesn't drift. Their assignment doesn't expire. You are not an option in their purpose. You are the purpose, chosen one. You've got to understand the gravity of this. You were born into a world already tilted against you, but your guardian. They were born into this with you, handpicked to walk your timeline like a shadow with teeth, a whisper with a sword, a silence trained in war. They don't just defend you, they study you. They memorize your energy signature. They detect shifts in your spirit like seismographs reading earthquakes in the soul. The moment your vibration lowers, they move. The moment a stranger steps into your space with impure intentions, they shift the atmosphere. And they do it all without fanfare. No titles, no thanks, no parades, because their reward isn't attention, it's alignment. When others turned their backs, your guardian faced forward. When you questioned your own worth, they reinforced it. When you forgot who you were, they guarded the truth until you remembered again. They don't protect your ego, they protect your becoming. Every version of you that had to die along the way, they stood in silence and mourned too. But they never abandoned their post, because every death in your journey was part of the evolution they were assigned to shield. They watched you bleed and stayed, watched you shatter and stayed, watched you love people who never deserved a minute of your presence and still stayed. Not because they agreed with your choices, but because their covenant wasn't based on conditions, it was based on cosmic truth. You are not just someone to be watched, you are someone to be kept. And if that means burning bridges to protect your light, they will. If that means standing between you and family, friends, lovers, anyone who tries to extinguish your flame, they'll do it without hesitation. You've mistaken their silence for absence, but they've just been busy blocking bullets that never reached your back. You have no idea how many breakdowns were prevented, how many nervous breakdowns were paused, how many soul-snatching betrayals were revealed right in time, all because someone made you their priority. They don't need your gratitude. They need you to win. That's the difference. They're not attached to your comfort. They're attached to your calling. So when the pressure comes, they don't flinch. When the warfare intensifies, they don't retreat. When the cost rises, they don't question the price. Because to them, you are worth it. Every ounce of energy, every unseen battle, every moment spent watching over you while the world slept on you. This isn't fair weather allegiance. This is sacred stewardship. They were placed on your path as the immovable pillar of defense. And no matter how far you rise, no matter how lonely the mission gets, your guardian will always be there. Not as a background character, but as the foundation God built beneath your survival. Because to them, you are not a side note. You are not a phase. You are the mission, period. You feel it, don't you? The shift in the way they look at you, the hesitation, the awkward silence, the fake smiles that don't land the same. They're scared, and not because you said anything. They're scared because of what's standing behind you. Chosen One. This isn't about intimidation. This is about revelation. They've seen just enough to know. They were wrong about you. They thought you were easy, quiet, harmless. They thought you'd always take the high road, but they didn't realize the high road had angels with flaming swords guarding the edges. You see, it's not just that you're protected. It's that you're protected loudly in the spirit realm and silently on earth. They don't know what happened. All they know is that ever since they tried to cross you, things haven't been right. Their peace evaporated. Their connections dried up. Their strategies imploded. And your name still rising, still glowing, still untouched. You didn't even need to clap back, because your guardian clapped back in dimensions they'll never reach. This is why they're scared now. Not because of your power, but because of the price they're paying for underestimating it. They thought you were unarmed. They didn't see the army in the invisible. They didn't feel the weight of your guardian's shadow until it was too late. Now they flinch when your name comes up. Not out of guilt, but because their spirits still remember the hit. You didn't break them. Your guardian did, piece by piece. Spirit first, mind next. Then the rest followed like dominoes. That's what happens when people play with chosen energy like it's casual. That's what happens when they mistake divine silence for divine absence. They thought there would be no consequences, and now they're drowning in them. Some of them won't admit it, but they're looking over their shoulders. They're checking energy that used to feel stable and now feels chaotic. They're having dreams they can't explain. Losing sleep, losing peace, losing control. Why? Because the protector you carry doesn't just neutralize threats. It marks perpetrators. That's what terrifies them most. Not your words, not your posts, not your smile, but the fact that you haven't said anything, and still, their world is caving in. Because Chosen One, you were never the problem. You were the line they should have never crossed. The boundary wrapped in flesh, the gate that looked open but was sealed in holy fire. Your energy has changed. It's bolder, heavier, sacred, and their spirit senses it. They can't get close without feeling exposed. It's not paranoia on their part. It's revelation. They finally see who they were messing with and who's been guarding you all along. Your presence is now a mirror. Everywhere you go, they're reminded of what they tried to do, and more importantly, what they couldn't stop. You're rising, you're glowing, you're walking in power, and all the chaos they launched has turned into their own undoing. They don't know how you keep getting stronger, how you keep surviving, how you keep elevating, but deep down, they know. It's not just you, it's what's standing behind you. That force, that guardian, that vow made in silence to never let your light be snuffed out. And now that the storm has passed and the truth is standing tall, they finally understand you were never alone. You were never vulnerable. You were never without backup. And that Chosen One is exactly why they're scared of you now. So now you know, you're not just walking with purpose, you're walking with covering. You're not just chosen, you're kept. Every threat that didn't reach you, every betrayal that didn't break you, every lie that didn't stick wasn't because you got lucky. It was because someone stood guard while you healed. Someone enforced the line when you were too weary to speak. Someone who doesn't ask for credit stood between you and disaster and said, "Not this one." You may have felt alone at times. You may have doubted your worth, but the silence around you wasn't abandonment. It was containment, the kind that happens when heaven secures the perimeter, so nothing unclean can touch the rise. Let that settle in your chest for a moment. Let it break the fear. Let it soothe the ache. Because no matter what you face next, you will never walk into it uncovered. You will never walk into it unprotected. There is a presence, seen or unseen, embodied or spiritual, that knows your calling is too sacred to leave to chance, that knows your light is too rare to let flicker in the wind, that knows you are too powerful to fall without cosmic retaliation. So exhale. You're not defenseless. You're not invisible. You are divinely surrounded, and the one ready to put hands on anyone who tries you. They're not going anywhere. Stay fierce, stay guarded, and stay chosen.